Meeting of Sylvania City Council for June 17th, 2024 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hayden?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout? Here. Mrs. Westfall?
Mrs. Westfall is excused. I welcome all of you to our City Council meeting and ask that you join us in our Pledge of Allegiance. This meeting led by Mr. Richardson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda, I do have a few tonight. As number 15, I would like to add State Yard presentation request for July 15th. 16, just a reminder announcement of a proclamation I'll present for Mr. Crandall tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And agenda item 17, Mr. Sanford would like to talk about the Ohio magazines left at your places this evening. Mr. Fry.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know how you wanted to handle the amended ordinance E3, whether that was a modification to the agenda or not. Or you want to do it at the time?
Yep, we can just do that.
Okay, then I have nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let me get it in. Maybe I already did.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have I went out of order, I apologize.
Oh, you're right ahead.
Just a short discussion of the pole sign term ending and our efforts to advise owners of that.
All right, we'll make
I know
that.
we've done some, but I just want to talk about it.
We have, and a pole sign, a long-standing pole sign did come down last week, if you noticed. Pole signs, as agenda item 18. Other members of City Council.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to just give a brief update on the Stranahan Inclusive Playground. I spoke to Tara Hay and just again want to give a brief update.
We'll make that agenda item 19. Any other additions from members of council? Mr. Sanford?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shaw?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Or Ms. Bryant?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
All right, with that, is there a motion to approve our agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and our agenda for this evening's meeting is set. We are to agenda item 4, which is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting on June 3rd. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the meeting minutes for the council meeting of June 3rd, 2024 as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from June 3rd as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and the June 3rd meeting minutes are approved. Agenda item 5. We're pleased to have our Parks and Forestry Superintendent, Pat O'Brien, here tonight. And we're not pleased, but we're pleased for him that he is retired. I remember when Pat came to the city, we were fortunate to find him and to hire him away from the city of Toledo. He used to work for people at the city of Toledo that I was working for as an architect, Dick Boers, and
Bob Behan?
Bob, that's right, Bob Behan, and I was Warner Claus.
Yep, Warner.
And you've done wonderful things here, so let's move over towards the center a little bit. And we have a proclamation that I'm going to read. Whereas Patrick O'Brien is retiring on June 28, 2024 from the city of Sylvania as Superintendent of the Division of Parks and Forestry after 16 years of dedicated service. And whereas prior prior to joining the city of Sylvania, Pat was the forestry inspector for the city of Toledo for 22 years. He is a graduate of Michigan Technological University with a Bachelor of Science degree in forestry with honors. And whereas he has been an exemplary employee for the city of Sylvania, leading the city's efforts in urban beautification in our downtown, in our gateway areas, and at city facilities. And whereas Pat was instrumental in developing the city's compost field, completed a survey of ravine cemetery grave sites and monuments, and works closely with the City of Sylvania Tree Commission. Now, therefore, I, Craig A. Stow, Mayor, do hereby proclaim today, Monday, June 17th, 2024, as Pat O'Brien Day in the City of Sylvania. And thank you for your many years of service.
Thank you.
The city's been blessed with many wonderful employees over the years, and you're certainly one. You've improved the appearance of the city, which is hard to believe after having Art landed up there. He did such a good job.
Yes, he did.
But you kept that mantle moving forward, and the city will miss you. Thank you very much.
I will miss the city too. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
And yes, I told Pat he did not have to stay. All right, that gets us up to agenda item 6. Chief Miller came to my staff meeting a couple of weeks ago and wanted to update me about the change that's going to take place from DARE to LEAD. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yes, we have been teaching DARE in our schools for probably over 35 years. We're looking at this program, we've known about it for about 3 years, we've been researching it, we weren't sure we wanted to switch to it. But we've been very impressed with what we found out. And Officer Lindsay Russell has actually gone through the training, and we really wanted to reach out to our community and especially all of you, because if someone only hears that we're stopping teaching DARE, that's not what we're doing. We have found a very good program that we're very interested in, and we think will not only replace DARE but make it a better program. So Lindsay will be able to kind of explain a little bit better what this is about and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Chief. And Lindsay, it seems like I saw you at the DARE graduation. I saw you at Safety City graduation.
Yes, Safety City last week,
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we had DARE graduations
Yes,
at a
we
few
did.
places as well.
over at Highland. So, like Chief said, you guys have had DARE for over 30 years in the city of Sylvania. And the big thing that we got from that is there's extreme value in the officer interaction between the kids in the schools. So with all of that, it's been a great program, but it's a little outdated at this point. So we found LEAD, which is Law Enforcement Against Drugs, founded by the Mendez Foundation. And this is actually an evidence-based program. It's called the Too Good for Drugs and Too Good for Violence curricula. And at this point, it's the most rapidly growing drug and violence prevention program in the U.S. A lot of that comes from that it's constantly being updated and changed to stay current. They actually have full-time prevention specialists always working on this and improving this. So this is going to be a K through 12 option. We can teach anywhere from kindergarten through high school, which is a little bit different. And it is meant to build relationships with educators and counselors and law enforcement, just not be delivered by law enforcement. So we've worked with Sylvania Prevention Alliance as well. They have some staff members that have been trained as well. So they can get into some different areas. We can co-teach and build all of these relationships further with the kids. So it's just a new outlook on building better relations. So this is going to be a 10-week program. The first 5 weeks is going to be Unit 1, which is actually just on social skills development. All they're going to learn about is goal setting, decision making. One thing that we really liked was the anger management and managing emotions. That starts from such a young age. to help the kids learn how to better process all of those things. Then your second unit is going to be your drug information and skill application. How do we say no? What are these things? What do they do to us? Things like that. We like the academic alignment as well. There's expansions on all of this. So not only are they learning in the classroom, there's actually homework, which homework sounds terrible, but it actually goes home and gets students to engage with their parents. So they're going to work on this with parents so parents understand what they're learning and they can apply that, have those hard conversations in the home and build that relationship at home as well. There's also going to be expansions for your teachers to do. There could be language arts or even an arts side. All of those just to go. And we have new relevant information. So in the high school curriculum, which we'd love to eventually offer a little bit more of, there's a big thing on dating violence and different, how to have those new relationships that young people aren't used to having. So just so that they know how to handle it a little bit better. All of this is going to be more of a scripted program, but with that, there's activities, games, and skits that go along with it that we found a lot of engagement for the children. So the skit comes out, one of the ones that they did, and I know Officer Barneswell watched Sarah Shaw from Oregon teach, was a Western. And these kids come out with their Western accents, and they have the best time in the world with it. So not only are they having fun, but they're learning. There's also games with all of these. So has anyone played Apples to Apples? There is a game like that, age appropriate, of course. So one of the questions might be, you just got job as the school editor for the newspaper. What characteristics do you need? And everyone throws down what they need. So open-minded, hardworking, all of those things, then you pick and you play the game just like that. So those are the big things that have led us to make the decision to lead, go to lead, as well as working with Sylvania School Board. Dr. Motley's pretty excited about it, as well as all of them. So there's 3 of us that are currently chained, Sergeant Bell, Officer Barneswell, and myself, and all of us are K through 12 certified at this point. So we're just excited to get it rolled out for the new school year. Does anyone have any questions?
I've got a couple right off the top. Is this still chiefly going to be taught in the 5th grade,
Yes,
which is the last year in the Sylvania Elementary Schools?
you bet.
All right, and this is more for Chief Miller. In the past, we used to receive some state funding, maybe from the Attorney General's office. Is that funding
They have
still
been-
there? Is it going to
yes.
roll into this?
Yes, it will. They've recognized LEAD as a program in what was formerly called the DARE grants. We can actually apply for LEAD,
Okay.
so we lose nothing.
And what is the duration of the training in the classroom? Is it comparable to the DARE program?
Yes, so DARE was 12 weeks. LEAD is going to be 10. There is an option to expand that 5 more weeks, so you can do a 15-week that has a whole nother 5 weeks on violence-based training.
Then I think we are still planning on doing 7th grade with McCord Junior High as well, which is something that we do with DARE. So,
I attend the graduations for DARE, and they're pretty well-attended
Yes.
events. Parents and grandparents do come if they're able to fit it into their schedule, just like Safety City. I couldn't believe how many people are in the room for Safety City. 2 graduations last Friday, and the room at the gym at Maplewood was full both times. And when I get to the DARE graduations, I usually ask how many of them went to Safety City. And invariably, most hands go up, and I ask for a few of the lessons, and they are anxious to share those with me. So we're still gonna have those opportunities with 5th graders. They're very receptive.
yes.
You know, DARE's been around a long time. My children, one sitting over there, went to the DARE program.
That's unfair, Mayor.
I think it's just saying I'm getting older and we're having to stop something that I'm.
It's tradition, and I'm glad that you're modernizing the tradition. Mr. Fry or members of council, questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. How does this interact with the township police, since 5th graders are more broad on a school district level basis than just in the city?
Township is on board as well. Sylvania Township also sent, I think, 2 or 3 officers to the training that we are at. So they're also certified and ready to go for the new school year.
Okay, great. And Chief, you mentioned about if we get this question, what is the plan, other than the fourth estate, I'm sure, who put something in the paper? What's the plan to let the general public know that this change is occurring?
As we're getting closer to the new school year, so it's fresh on the parents' minds, we're looking at possibility a mayor's message where he can send something out and doing some media blast in conjunction with Sylvania Prevention Alliance and the school as well, to just really instill that this is a positive change for our students and our children in the community.
Great, yeah, because that's important, obviously. We want the public to understand the change.
And we could foresee kind of some people around the community, you know, with all of you being so well-known in the positions you are in, coming up and saying, hey, what's this we hear about? Sylvania police are no longer teaching DARE. And that's not the reaction we want. We want the positive. Yes, it's been a great program, but we think this is going to be even better for the times that we're in.
Sometimes it's important to have a refresh, as the mayor mentioned. That's great. Thank you for putting the work to get certified and time into pursuing this new opportunity to help our students.
Well, the other schools that have been doing it have had a good report back from the students. They've seemed to enjoy it, and the officers that are teaching it seem to enjoy it too. So
Great.
We're looking forward to this first year.
Kind of along the line of your question, the city police division goes to the elementary schools within the city limits, and the township covers the ones outside the city limits. It's not necessarily where you live, it's what school you're going to.
Correct.
Yeah, and I assumed that was going to be the answer, but I just wanted to get that on the public record. Just
No, we worked with Sylvania Township, and they were with us when we presented this to Dr. Motley in the school and Sylvania Prevention Alliance. So we were working on getting a cohesive group together, so it was all done as one.
Great.
So this will be in effect next year.
This coming school year.
This coming school year. Well, I'm sending you a fifth grade grandson, so do a good job.
We got it covered.
Okay.
As a member of Sylvania Prevention Alliance from Council, thank you, Lindsay, for the information update. And yes, we wholeheartedly support the new program and expect, as you say, better results even from it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Officer Russell, thank you. You do not need to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you're welcome to. We'll now continue with agenda item 7. This has to do with the downtown transportation improvements or the streetscape project downtown. This is in response to the expanded scope of work to bury overhead utilities underground in the north block. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, members of council. Yeah, this is a kind of a spin-off of our committee of the whole that we held back in October, where we further defined how this whole project was going to come to fruition. At that time, we decided to divide this into 2 phases, phases 1 and 2. Phase 1 being in the first block of Main Street between Monroe and Maplewood. Phase 2 being in that second block. It was council's desire to want to bury the overhead utilities that are in the second block to make it match the first block. So that plus the ability to secure a couple $100,000 more in grant funding was enough to divide these projects up into 2. So we've been working for the last 6 months with the utility companies. We have monthly standing meetings with them to better understand how this is going to work, what their footprint is going to be, what their needs are. Toledo Edison has prepared us a relocation plan, so we have an idea of where it's going to go. And we had a meeting with them to further define the scope of services that would be needed to bury the underground utilities in that second block. So the proposal in front of you is for DGL. This would be their second on the project, tied to the second phase of the project. and they're using JDRM. It's pretty much 50-50 on the proposal in terms of the amount. JDRM is doing about half the work to do the underground electrical work, and DGL is doing a lot of the above grade work. How do we maintain traffic while we do this? Where's it gonna go? That sort of thing. So in front of you is their proposal for $73,534. And we would recommend approval.
What is this gonna cost at the end of the day?
When we had talked about this, I think back last year, we were in that $500,000 to $600,000 berry range.
And Joe, obviously, I don't have any questions about this part, but what's the next step coming back to council for, because I know we've already done a number of things, we're putting the plans together and all that sort of stuff, we've had public meetings. What's the next step, and when do you come back to council with additional information?
So for phase one, we are moving right along. I have 95% plans coming in July. That will be kind of my last chance to take a look at it for the nuts and bolts. But phase one is pretty well defined based on the public input and public meetings we have. It's set. We'll have one final look at it, and then we'll bid the project October-ish of this year with the goal to make sure that we encumber those ARPA funds before the end of the year. So that will kind of bookend phase one, and that will be ready for construction into next year. Phase two, this will probably take, if I had to guess, a good 6 to 8 months to get this to a point where it's ready for construction. And so that's the key piece that DGL will work with on this, because as phase one is being built, we also need to be relocating utilities in phase two and how all that comes together. So we probably will have two projects. It'll look like one to the common resident out there, but it really would be two projects, one roadway and one a utility bury. And the goal would be to have all of 2025 to bury those utilities so that the roadway section is cleared, ready to go for a 26 phase two construction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We do have in your council packets as agenda item 7B, ordinance 80, 2024. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 80-2024, accepting the proposal of DGL Consulting Engineers to provide professional engineering services for overhead utility relocation engineering for the downtown transportation improvements Phase 2 project, appropriating funds therefore in the amount not to exceed $73,534. I move for passage of ordinance number 80-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 80, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 80, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda items 8, 9, and 10 are all the actual levying of assessments for the things that we've talked to you at previous meetings. The first one is for street lighting, then shade trees, then open drainage ditches. If you have questions as we go into these, that's fine. We need to get these into the county auditor in time to be reflected on next January's property taxes. So we'll start with ordinance 81, 2024. This is for street lighting. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce ordinance number 81, 2024 by title only. Ordinance approving the assessments heretofore authorized by resolution number 6, 2024 for street lighting, levying said assessments, and I move passage as an emergency measure.
Second. Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 81, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 81, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Agenda item 9 is for shade trees. We have ordinance 82. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 82-2024 to assess a special tax upon the lots and lands described in the schedule referred to herein to pay a part of the cost and expense of providing for the removal and special treatment of shade trees for for the purpose of controlling blight and disease of same, and for planting, maintaining, trimming, and removing shade trees in and along the streets and within public right-of-way of the city for the year ending December 31st, 2024. I move for passage of ordinance number 82-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 82, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 82, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. Now for the third of these is for open drainage ditches, and I believe you've received an amended ordinance 83 at your seats. There were just two changes in it.
Yours was replaced in the packet before I got
It's
it.
already in the packet. Okay, got
All
it.
right,
Good,
Same with Mark's.
got it, sorry.
all right, there were just a couple of typo changes in there, but I don't think we need to call it amended. We can just read it straight out, I believe, as ordinance 83, 2024. This is for drainage ditches. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 83-2024 to assess a special tax upon the lots and lands described in the schedule referred to herein. Pay a part of the cost and expense of providing for the construction, maintenance, repair, cleaning, and closing open drainage ditches within the corporate limits of the city of Sylvania for the year ending December 31, 2024. I move for passage of ordinance number 83-2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 83, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 83, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. We are now up to agenda item 11. And this has to do with an annexation on the south side of Monroe Street. Ms. Brining.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just the required statement of services that City Council is required to pass prior to the hearing on the annexation petition. It's 6 acres on Monroe Street. The property is currently owned by the Lutheran Home Society. They're in the process of selling it and will need the city's utilities. So they've requested annexation in exchange for extending those. The hearing is set for July 2nd. And like, there's one owner, it's unanimous annexation, don't expect any issue at all. This is just a required procedural step.
Property immediately west of the Ability Center. Any questions for Ms. Brining? If not, Ms.
How does this affect our annexation agreement with?
This is an uncontested, adjacent to the city limits. The township is aware that this annexation request has been filed. I expect no problems at all.
Thank you.
This is why we have an annexation agreement and a jet agreement.
Thank you.
All right. We do have proposed resolution 7, 2024. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 7, 2024, and read by title only. Adopting a statement pursuant to the revised Code of Ohio 709.03D, indicating what services will be provided to the area proposed to be annexed to the city of Sylvania by petition for annexation filed with the Board of Lucas County Commissioners. I move for passage of resolution number 7, 2024 as an emergency measure.
Second.
Moved and seconded for passage of resolution number 7, 2024 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and resolution 7, 2024 is enacted as an emergency measure. And I'm sure that the law director will report back to us at our next meeting about the July 2nd hearing. We're now up to agenda item 12. This is a request from the service director to advertise for bids on the Haroon Road Flower Hospital Ravine Drive Improvement Project. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project has been a long time coming. We've been working on this since, I believe, 2019. So we have made it to the finish line design-wise, so to speak. We've secured all of the necessary right-of-way to build the project, so we are ready to move forward and submit our package to ODOT District 2 at the, actually I did that on Friday, but we're ready to submit our package to get ready to move forward into bidding. So just as a reminder, this is our traffic signal improvement at the realigned intersection of Haroon, Ravine, and Flower Hospital's main drive. We did very well on grant funding for this particular project. Those are outlined in the letter with some percentages there. We're anticipating the city cost of construction to be around 16% of the $1.5 million to build it. So we will be moving forward with advertising for bids in August. We expect to do an opening in September. Construction can start anytime after October, and we are anticipating it to take about a full year for it to be implemented. Equipment to come in. But the goal was to have this signal operational and ready prior to US 23's interchange project and actually the physical closure of the bridge. This construction schedule will meet that so that we can have good signal timing adjustments needed for all the detour traffic that'll be using Haroon while the bridge is closed.
Bridge will be closed in 2026. This will be done 2025.
Late 25.
Okay.
Yep.
And a good part of this project is the realignment of the main entrance into the Flower Hospital grounds, moving it, angling it north to align with Ravine.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fry.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, I recall in the past, we've had challenges getting things like steel poles that, and I know that's probably why you've got such a wide time frame here. Have you started to see some relief from those bottlenecks, or are they just a little?
Very small.
Okay.
Good
I'm
news.
just curious, you know,
Good
wondered.
news on Main Street, those poles were ordered, and this would be for the pedestrian hydrant beacon that's going in front of the St. Joe's. We ordered those March, and we are told they will be on site by August. That's pretty good. It's only one pole, but we have 4 to make with ours. So better, but incrementally. Traffic signal equipment is probably some of the slowest stuff that we have. And it's not just the poles, it's some of the telecommunication equipment, and they're just slow projects. You gotta account for about a year to do it, just to account for the lead times.
Thank you.
We need a motion authorizing the clerk to advertise for bids.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for motion authorizing the clerk of council to advertise for bids for this project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And what's your bid date, anticipated bid date, Joe?
We advertise August 12th, and then I think we open right after Labor Day, September 4th.
Okay, thank you. That gets us to agenda item 13, committee reports. Are there any committee reports to be made at this time? Or committee referrals? Agenda item 14. Hearing none, we'll move on to the added agenda items. I just wanted council to be aware I've received a request from Sajard to present to you about their levy during our July 15th meeting, and I'm sure that an endorsement will be requested at that time. They are preparing the necessary submittals to request an endorsement. Just want to have that on your radar. And I guess you can tell me you don't want to hear it, but normally we would hear them. Okay. Agenda item 16, John Crandall presentation. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock will be John Crandall's final meeting as a township trustee. I will be presenting a proclamation. John has served in our community for a very long time. He's served as a founding partner in the Community Improvement Corporation. He's worked for the county engineer and brought county engineering coordination to Sylvania and Sylvania Township. He's been a school board member, he's been a Lord's University Board of Trustees member, and now a Sylvania Township trustee. And I felt it appropriate for me to go to the township trustee meeting to read a proclamation. I don't know what they're gonna think over there. That'll be the second township trustee meeting I've been to in a row. 3 or 4 years ago, lightning would have struck me walking in the door. And I think that's a good one. If you have a chance, it's at 5 o'clock at the township hall. Added agenda item 17, Mr. Sanford wants to talk to you about the Ohio Magazine placed at your places this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Jobs Ohio is the economic development arm for the state of Ohio, and they've been working with Site Selection Magazine, and they want to do a feature on the state. Our CIC, which the city and the township, it's our joint economic development organization here locally, and we placed an ad in the magazine, so I got a lot of extra copies between us and the township, and I wanted to make sure you each got a copy of it. Some really good articles from the governor's office and talking about the game plan going forward for job development for the state of Ohio. And you can also see what some other, communities are doing as far as economic development. So there's a lot of good information in this. So I just encourage you to take it and read it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Our ad, as I believe, is on page 53. And so it's good that we were in part of this. The CIC voted to spend the money to have an ad in this, as this is being shared at meetings and conferences as they promote and try to bring more development to the state of Ohio.
Thank you, Bill. Totally unrelated news from Columbus that I heard from on the 6 o'clock news. Governor DeWine talked about trying to improve the flow of traffic between Toledo and Columbus. He gave some specifics, which I've not seen in writing, but I believe what he said was reducing the current number of 30 traffic lights north of Columbus, starting at Waldo, mostly around Delaware, from 30 to 7, and building some additional grade separation interchanges to help facilitate that. I can think of a few where grade separations would work. Just south of Waldo, there's a state highway that crosses. It's a dangerous traffic light intersection way up there. And I'm sure there's some others they can do, but boy, a lot of that congestion, I don't know how you fix it without building a bypass. But it's moving in the right direction. I just hope I live long enough to see it all work. I traveled US 23 between Worthington and Waldo 4 times this weekend, back and forth, and man, that's slow in there. So any help is much appreciated. The governor did listen, and I hope to see action soon. Added agenda item 18. Mr. Heenan wanted to inquire about our pole signs. For 20 years, we've said that all pole signs must be down by 2026. I believe it's January 1st, 2026. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes.
The city has had a program in place for the last few years assisting owners of pole signs to replace them with monument signs. What did we fund for that, Bill? How much per sign?
We would fund up to the cost of the sign up to $5,000, which was reimbursed. So if your new monument sign cost $10,000 and you submitted the paperwork, we reimbursed them $5,000. We did another follow-up last year of telling people we needed to hear from them. And I think that there were 3 that others had been, have done the sign program in the past, but this past year, 3 of them identified. 1 has been finished, and there's 2 more that they still have to be, they met the deadline. So when they do do their sign, they'll be eligible for the grant that the city's provided. But that's it as far where we are with the grant. We don't have plans to extend that at this point.
If you think back, there's been a lot of progress over the years. There used to be an enormous Sylvania Savings Bank sign right there at Summit and Monroe. That one's down. There was an old Robert Hall sign east of US 23 on the north side of Monroe Street, and a number of other great big signs have come down over the years. and one did come down late last week. That's for the old Comstock furniture on the north side of Monroe Street. We've been asking for that one to come down for some time, and it looks like it was indeed cut down. It was not hit, it was cut down at grade, and I don't know if it's still laying there or not. I didn't look tonight to see.
There this morning, I'm not sure, but Mayor, just to add with that, and, you know, I think in the last 10 years, there's definitely been progress, and Mayor noted a couple of them, and Monroe Street between the expressway and downtown really looks a lot better as a lot of the signs have gone away, and there's more on Alexis that have gone down. The last one that I've been working on is Frickers, but they want to, I think their position is to stay to the bit of red and not take advantage of any kind of a program. They really like their, the size of their sign.
I believe Frickers is expanding their parking lot to the west into that vacant property. Perhaps Joe or Tim can talk to them about the possibility of incorporating that into their plans. Reminder to City Council, there will still be a few pole signs remaining for the shopping area, the old Major Magic shopping area, that big sign that we have with lots of businesses on it. That was specifically excluded based on its zoning in the original legislation 18 years ago.
Yeah, it was actually, what prompted this is I was driving down Alexis, on the way to a baseball game, and noticed there's still a lot of pole signs up there, and there's a lot of work still to be done. And have we encountered any, what I thought was, are we encountering any pushback to our legislation and our requirements?
We've sent out letters so that twice
Right.
to let them know that it's coming. And yes, I've experienced pushback over the years. Jim Sauter did not like it when we worked in front of his place. He said, I gotta have a pole sign. I put prices up there and I need that. But then when it was done and he took it down, he said, this looks really nice. I think this is gonna work out fine.
Yeah, it has.
Change is always stressful. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but we're not anticipating any challenges or any issues.
Yeah, I think.
We're not anticipating them today.
Right, we're not aware of any that are.
Okay, that's what I was
What
curious
action
about.
will the city take January 1st, 2026 for the, hopefully no more than a handful of pole signs remaining? Do we, and
They'll be in violation.
they'll be in violation? Okay, all right. We'll work on it then. All right, and then added agenda item 19, Mr. Hanson, Stranahan Inclusive Playground update.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, Tara Hay, she's the president of the Stranahan PTA, spoke to the committee of the whole back on May 6th. I ran into her at the Sylvania Chamber luncheon about a week and a half ago, get a table set up there. You know, so I just stopped by and spoke to her, and she did give an update that she's now, you know, so when she presented on May 6th, she had raised $190,000 with a goal of $550,000. They're now up to $250,000 raised, so about $60,000 in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And they have their benefit dinner next Friday, June 28th at Wildwood, which is prior to our next council meeting. So I just thought this would be a good time to, you know, to provide an update on that.
Thank you. All right. That gets us to the end of the agenda items. Is there any other business for us to consider at this time? There are 2 information items, but they're just the meeting minutes from the Board of Architectural Review and the Municipal Planning Commission. And you can see on the Municipal Planning Commission, both agendas actually, that sheets did request another month delay, so those were both tabled. 3 items on the Board of Architectural Review, 1 on the Planning Commission. With that, we are at the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until its next regularly scheduled meeting 4 weeks from tonight on Monday, July 15th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you all. And as a reminder, the city is closed on Wednesday, June 2nd.